Greetings, loyalists and heretics. Welcome to Iron and Ceramite, where we once again enter the warp without an astropath.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Iron and Ceramite podcast. My name is John and as always I am joined by my co-hosts Tommy.
All right, mate.
Dave.
Hi guys.
Shane.
Hello.
And Glen.
Hiya.
If you're joining us for the first time, then hello, thank you for checking us out. We set this podcast up in order to document our collective progress into this awesome hobby. And between the five of us, we have varying levels of experience and knowledge. And hopefully, if all goes to plan, this will grow into a podcast where we all have decent knowledge that we can share with you guys. And hopefully this is something that whether you're a veteran of the hobby or brand new, you can get involved and enjoy with us. So if you want to know more about us personally, then go back and check our earlier episodes where we tell you how we got into this. And for those that you are returning, thank you. It's great to have you back. Quickly, before we get into the pod, we've got a bit of where to find us and how you can support us. So if you are watching along, we're obviously on YouTube. Otherwise, if you just want to listen, you've got Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and most good podcast services where you can find us. To look at all of our individual modelling and bits and pieces like that, or to catch up on what's going on with the pod, you can join us on Instagram at Iron and Ceramite. And if you use the hashtag Iron and Ceramite with anything that you paint, and we spot it, we'll pop it in our stories as a way of saying thank you for supporting us. We've also got a Facebook group that Tom set up where we sort of just post and talk nonsense on there about all the stuff that's coming out. We're also on Twitter. We do have a Twitch, but we're not using it yet. But do follow us for when we do start using it and figure out how it works. And we're also on Patreon. So jump on there. You can throw us a £5 a month to support us, just as a way to say thank you, to help us put some more money into this podcast and sort of develop everything that we're doing, get some better equipment. And as a thank you, we'll pop your name or your social media handles into the credit pool at the end of the videos as a way of saying thank you. And also you can see in the description, we are affiliated with Element Games. And if you use our link, you'll still get your discounts and no extra cost. We get a bit of a kickback from that. And again, any money will go into the podcast. So enough of me talking. Let's jump on to our hobby roundup. And Shane, how are you doing, mate? What have you been working on?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a slow one for me. I've been struggling to get a rhino painted and done. As you can see there, it's half done, half built, half painted. I started, as I said, I think I discussed it in one of the other pods before. I started with contrast, and it was a total nightmare. So I then stopped that, ordered myself some The Fang base paint for Space Wolves, and then started repainting it. But it's been a bit of a struggle to stay motivated on this one. So although the base coat's on and the Fang goes on much better than the contrast paint, it's still a bit of a challenge, and it's still sitting here on my desk. Not much further on from where you see it on your screens now if you're watching. So definitely a bit of a struggle. And once I've done this one, I'm going to be very careful on what I select as my next painting project, because it can be very easy to fall out of love of painting in my side. And then I suppose other than the modelling side of stuff, there's two things that I've been doing a lot of. One of course is combat cards, which everyone listening along will know. This is what we're up to. So I won't say anything about how that's going, other than if you want to join the clan, you'll be able to see the leaderboard there.
You can say that you're at the top. It's fine.
I've got to dwell in the glory for now, because it's not going to last. So
I don't know. You've been up there for quite some time now.
I think I got a lucky week. It's one of those ones where the matchmaking went my way, and I just was able to burgle a load of points, and it stayed that way. So I'll take it while I can get it.
I'm not catching you before it resets tomorrow.
Well, I was going to say it's only a day, and there's still a bit of a gap, so I think I might be all right. But it's yeah, that's been a bit of fun. And then the other thing I've been doing, and this will come when we'll come onto it a bit later in the Skulls discussion, is I've been playing a really old game on my laptop called Rights of War, which came out years ago, and it's a Eldar-based, turn-based campaign game that I had when I was younger. Just happened to notice that it was available because it's out of license now, so you can get it for pretty much free if you can find it. And I've just been playing that. And what surprised me, because it's a game that's probably about 15, 20 years old now, is that the Sisters of Battle were in there, and I didn't even know they were that old. So that was quite surprising. But yeah, that's been what I've been up to hobby wise.
Nice. So with Glen, with your Rhino,
yeah.
So you put on, what was it called again? The base, sorry.
So the base there is it's a color called the Fang.
So do you still need to go over that with something else, or are you going to just say, right, I'm going to leave it that color?
No, that's going to be it now. What I'll do is I'll edge, highlight, and maybe do some other highlights with Rust Grey and Fenrisian Grey. But that will be the base color now.
Cool.
But yeah, pretty good going. As I said, it's taken a while, but we'll get there.
What loadouts can you have on the top weapons?
So you can have if it's a Rhino, you just get the bolter or the heavy bolter and the missile. So you can have like a hunter killer missile on it.
Yeah.
But if you use the Razorback loadout, then you can also have dual las cannon or dual heavy bolter, I believe. Yeah.
Cool. Anything else, mate, that you want to add?
I think that's it for the hobby roundup for me. As I said, it's been a pretty quiet one since our last pod.
Yeah. Okay. Dave, how much money have you sunk into terrain?
Here we go.
I'm not at liberty to answer that question. Just in case the missus stumbles across the podcast. A fair amount recently. Obviously, this is the Battle of Sanctum that I've painted up. And as Tom will tell you, I'm quite pleased with myself. Quite pleased with how it's come out. It took ages. It was a bit of a labour of love. I probably sunk about 15 hours into the actual Sanctum itself and the statue. And there's not huge amounts of detail in it, really. It's just a very big piece of terrain. Obviously, you can see in the second picture there, you can see Grimaldus fading into insignificance in the middle of it. So, but I'm quite pleased. I think that it sets a good scene along with the other Imperialis ruins that I've got. I think it was obviously we had the few games today. So I'm quite pleased with how it all looks together.
I was really surprised with how good it actually looked. I mean, I remember your other piece of terrain. Yeah, no, honestly, that other piece of terrain you've done before, which was sort of like the precursor to this. It was very similar, but this one, I think you've absolutely nailed it.
Thank you.
How long did it take you to paint?
Probably all in all about 15 hours. So
okay,
bit like the book. So and at times it was a complete because there's only so based primed it with Gracie, and then
that must have been nearly a whole can, mate. I mean,
it was a fair amount, for all of it. And then it was Wraithbone and all the sort of stony bits, Retributor armor or Retributor gold on the gold bits, obviously, and then black contrast and all the other bits, a washing agrax and a dry brush. There's obviously a few details in there with a few other colours, but yeah, so it's just because they're so large, it just took forever and ever.
Yeah.
So. It looks awesome, mate. And it looks just as good in person as well.
Yeah,
it really does.
Not
Because you've
photo
even
trickery.
Details and everything on this one. Like the tiny little details, the lights you've done, you've painted, I don't know what them things are, but you painted them red. Yeah, and the little candles around the statue and all that, mate. So you've gone into quite a lot of detail there, I think.
Yeah, I did try. So I'm glad that it's getting noticed.
I'm surprised how big it all is as well.
Yeah, it was enormous. That's the thing, is I didn't realise it was as big when I got it. But I'm quite pleased with it. I still think I would have got it if I knew how big it was anyway. I just would have given myself more time to actually do it, because it got to the point where I got home last night about 11 o'clock and sat down knowing how to finish it off, and I was thinking, oh God, for fuck's sake. So, but yeah, no, I'm pleased with it overall. I'm glad it came out like that.
What's next on your list of things to do?
I am going to go back to my Primaris. It's been ages since I've done any of those. So obviously, as we're starting to get a few more games in, I'm relying on my firstborn because they're all fully painted. So I'm going to paint up a few more of my Primaris. Probably just going to go with Intercessors next. I bought some assault Intercessors as well, so I'll get them done. And then I've got loads built. I just need to get around to painting it. So, but yeah, Primaris next, so that I can get a few lists on those.
Cool. Awesome. Glenn, you didn't send me any pictures, so we assume that you've done no painting.
That is correct. That is my standard.
Okay, so
I was more or less building and digging stuff out to get ready for the games, and then just sort of didn't have time to do any painting.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, we saw your couple of lists today, and literally everything was just unpainted except one thing which had a net thrown over it.
No, let's be fair. Some of the guard, I think about
they were. You're
of
right.
the 20 odd guardsmen were painted. Some else had some stages done to it. Yeah, the Marines. To be fair, the captain was also on his way to being painted for the Marine Army, but yeah, that's all stuff I've done.
You say Marine Army?
We'll get
some Marine in it.
Yeah. Oh dear. Your salamander.
Marine Codex, so it was.
Your blue salamander.
Yes.
Talking of blue, so I haven't painted anything for about 6 weeks since I ran out of stuff, and then Tom reminded me. He gave me a kit bashed Death Guard Plague Marine champion a while ago.
Before you put this up, this was one of the worst things I've ever kit bashed. I'm sorry, I have to say. I bought a lot of good stuff, like cool little shoulder pads and all that, and I tried to put it together, and he just looked like there was something wrong with him. I mean, I know, Death Guard, maybe I can get away with that, but
he had some gangly legs, but otherwise he was.
And a big arm.
Yeah.
Obviously the power fist, but
yeah, and so he's not going into my normal army, but I wanted to try something different. So here we go.
What is that monstrosity?
Is this a heresy?
pretty much.
But he was feeling a bit blue. There's not really anything else to say about that. But let's move away from him, shall we? So the only other thing
hang on, before I just wanted to say, how did you find it painting a colour that was different? I mean, because you're so used to obviously painting the Death Guard now. Is this the first time, other than when you very first started and did your tiny Imperial Fist guy?
Yeah.
Is this the first time you painted another colour, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, yeah, it is. It was fine. It was a bit weird. I think when I undercoated him, I was a bit close. So on the front, on his sort of chest plate, it wasn't very smooth. And when I was putting it on, that was sort of getting on my nerves a little bit. But actually, once I got into it, it was fine. I didn't take like ultimate time or care with it.
Yeah. Do you feel like you learned anything new by doing it though at all, or just like not really? You just like, oh, I know, I want to stay away from that.
I tell you what I learned. I hate painting fully assembled models. That was awful. It was a nightmare. That's it. I mean, no, not really. It was the only real difference there is the blue and the gold rim. But no, it was all right. It was just nice to like get back into painting before I start going back to everything being green. But other than that, I went to a local Warhammer shop and picked up the next 3 issues of Marnius Calgar, which I haven't read yet, but I've got the next 3. And then I picked up the data cards as well, which I didn't even use today. So £15 well spent. And obviously I picked up the new codex for you, Glenn, for your
Yeah, the AdMech one.
Yeah. And then they gave me a free coin, because I spent like 60 quid in the end. They gave me a free coin, which I gave to you. I can't remember what it was for.
It's Bellacore.
Bellacore, yeah. And then they gave me a disassembled gift in a box, which is just a assault intercessor. So I've got another Marine. Maybe I'll do him in Death Guard green so I've got one of each. But yeah. And then Glen, very kindly, I was looking for a playcaster, and Glen told me he had one, and he's given me all this stuff. So there's 2 sprues of Poxwalkers there. There's basically it's the Nurgly half of the Dark Imperium box that you're giving me, plus a Rhino. So yeah, I've got loads to crack on with now. Thank you very much. I've already started on the Rhino, doing little bits and pieces. So that'll be my next project.
Did you decide what chapter the Space Marine skull was going to be?
Oh well, I put a vote up, and I basically got a different answer for everyone. I got a Blood Angel. I got a Templar. Was it you who said about White Scars?
I said White Scars or Grey Knights, because I looked up who Mortarion disliked the most.
Oh really?
And he's obviously got a beef with everyone, but he had one with Jagatai as well, and I thought that was maybe. And he doesn't like Psychers, so that was the Grey Knight side of it.
Fair enough. No, I haven't decided yet. So maybe I'll take your guys' opinions into consideration.
Make it Ultramarine just to piss that guy off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thematically, that would work with the Dark Imperium set, right? Because that's that's where they went.
Yeah. I mean, whatever I decide today, my mind will be changed by the time I get around to painting it. So we'll just it'll be a nice surprise for the next pod if we get there. But yeah, other than that, I think that's pretty much everything. I've got plenty to work on now. So thank you very much. Hopefully, you won't be embarrassed by what I produce. Anyway, Tom, moving on to you, mate.
Well, I got quite a bit. So obviously this guy, I knew we was going to meet up today and have a couple of little games. So I wanted to use this character that I kit bashed quite a while ago, tried to make him look like a 30k Blood Angel. So I rebased him. I mean, as you can see, I don't know why, but I had a thing for putting people on pieces of slate that weren't the right size when I first sort of started. So I've taken him off that, put him on a little base there, and I used him today, and he was in the winning team. Wasn't he, Glenn?
Yeah. Got nothing else to add to that.
So that's pretty much him. Literally just a rebasing with that, and I put a few tiny sort of effects on his power fist, which, to be honest, they're not that in depth, but I think it adds a little bit of colour to him, other than the red.
Yeah, it looks alright. Like when he was playing and he was on the table, like it stands out, doesn't it?
He looks better in person. This picture is pretty bad, to be honest. The way the helmet looks there, I had to still had to put quite a bit of wash on and things like that after that. Yeah, it looks okay.
And then you got this one.
Right, okay. So let me start with the one on the left. I was bored. I've got pieces of Dreadnought all over the place at home from my Furioso that I did. I went with a Librarian Dreadnought from that pack. So I still obviously had the Death Company Dreadnought front there. So I tried to make some terrain. And actually, if it wasn't in a complete circle, it would look okay. I think I've just got to rough up the edges a bit and make a few clippings here and there and make it look a little bit, sort of not so circular, and I can use it as some terrain. So yeah, it's basically just a very long dead Dreadnought that's obviously buried in the sand. Yeah, the other two, obviously my Stormhawk Interceptor that I built, along with my Redemptor Dreadnought, which I've now painted the Stormhawk and primed the Redemptor.
Say, I'd seen that it was red today.
It was, yeah.
It was blowing chunks out of my armor.
There will be a picture of that very shortly, but before we get to that, we've also got to meet this fellow.
Frednote.
Yeah.
He is another product of my boredom, and as you can see, the other side of the dreadnought that wasn't used in my kit, which is, I think, just the regular Furioso dreadnought, isn't it? The main part of it. So basically, it was a Grey Knight body and legs that I had, and some Blood Angels claws that I wasn't using, don't need, and I made him into that, whatever that abomination is. He'd always wanted to be a dreadnought. He'd seen it. He'd seen his brother dreadnoughts, and he was jealous. So he went scavenging and turned himself into one, sort of.
When did your Sanguine Reapers start to get an orc mentality?
Well,
that's very like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that.
But you've got to remember, I've still got an orc starter set, so I am kind of, I'm edging that way. That is my next thing. So I thought, why not go in between? So yeah, maybe he is an orc. No one's seen his face in years.
Are you gonna paint him up? Is he gonna be?
Yeah, definitely gonna paint him.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I suppose he's gonna have to be in the colours of Blood Angels because it's a Blood Angel front of a dreadnought. So yeah, I suppose I'll just paint him normally like I would. Could I use him for anything? I mean, could I just say he's a captain with double power claws? I could, couldn't I? If they was okay with it. He's got a head behind that thing.
I don't see why not. I mean, it's just the model, right? It doesn't matter. Like you could, you know, it depends who you're playing against, but you know, you could have a lump of blue tack and say that it's a dreadnought.
Yeah. No, I don't think I would take him to a competition.
The weapon loadout is official. You've got double lightning claws. That's a legal weapon loadout. So yeah, even if you just make him a, I don't know, bloody sergeant and a unit of Terminators if you really want.
True. Yeah.
It's just an extravagant helmet, really, isn't it?
Just like Dave. so that's Dreadnought. And actually, do you know what? The weird thing about him, I've done so many. I think I've done over 300 posts on my Instagram, and he's got the second most likes ever. Just some random figure that I've kit bashed. That, you know, but yeah. Okay. Oh, so this is my Redemptor Dreadnought that I used today, primed, and obviously I've got two 5-man squads of assault terminators as well, Blood Angels assault terminators, which I primed for today, just so that when we played, at least you could see they were red and they were on, you know, one side, because I think grey plastic looks awful. No offense, Glen. And then there's my two.
I had very little grey, right?
Very true, very true. Just the 3 dreadnoughts, and
just their arms.
Just their arms. And then the other 2 in front, I've built and primed, ready for painting. My 2 assassins, my Kulexus and my, I always forget this guy, Eversaw, yeah, assassin. So I primed them as well. Not a lot more to say about them.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So there's my Stormhawk Inceptor painted, and I'll admit it, much like Shane with his Rhino, I pretty much did the same thing. I sprayed it. I've got some cheap red, like primer. Very cheap stuff. It's to be honest, it's hard to paint over, but if you're just washing over the top of it, it's fine. So I used that, and just to get it tabletop ready, really. I wasn't too bothered about how it looks. I only really care about characters now. So yeah, it looks okay, and it's tabletop ready. And the other 2 guys, I'm thinking of going into trying to enter a diorama competition at some point, and they were going to be what I was going to use, sort of Psyker against Psyker, Librarian against, Farseer? Farseer, yeah. Farseer. And I was going to put them at 2 separate sides of a large base, with some dead bodies of obviously Eldar and Space Marines dotted around, and them 2 just holding their staffs up and trying to think of how to put some sort of, I don't know, psychic effects into play, but I haven't really thought about how to do that yet. So at the moment, they're just laying on the side. But we'll see where that goes. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I like is it the Storm Talon? Is that what it is? Storm.
Yeah, it's a Stormhawk Inceptor. I think Inceptor, but it can be built 2 different ways. So you can have this model, which is the Inceptor, or you could go the other way and have a Storm. Is it a gunship? Stormhawk gunship, or Storm Talon gunship? That's the one. Yeah. Talon. So you got the Storm Talon or the Stormhawk.
I don't know, obviously, what it looks like in real life, but looking at the picture, like it's got a really, well, what I think anyway, really nice weathered look to it. It looks like it's, you know, something that's been flying around like a dusty planet
Yeah, I thought, since I wasn't putting too much effort in, I thought that would be the best way to go to make it look like it's got some effect on it. So, like I say, I primed it all in the red, which is actually very, very similar to the Mephiston red anyway. Like I say, it's more difficult to paint over and it's more difficult to strip. But if you're just doing it to, and then I dry brushed it with lead belcher, literally all over, and then also washed it in null oil all over to make it that grimy look. And I think that, you know, lets you get away with it a little bit, that you haven't put in too much detail work.
No, I think it looks good.
Cheers, man.
Yeah. And then you've got one more.
Right, and these have been long in the pipeline of getting ready. To be honest, I lost all motivation with these because I really enjoyed building them and sorting the pieces to put together to make my own 10-man Vanguard veteran squad with jump packs, obviously. So building them was fun, priming them was fun, using them was fun, but the painting was just so boring to me because of the proper batch painting. So I've got them tabletop ready again. And yeah, they're ready to go, really. I've still got a little bit. I think I'll go back to them at some point to put some more details in, because I do like the idea of them being like a real cool elite unit, looking really awesome. But there's quite a few bits and pieces that I've missed out so far. But yeah, they're ready for the tabletop.
One of the models, because there's only 9 there.
Yeah, you got a point. The other ones, to be honest, right? Forgive me. Well, I've got, as you saw today, a massive plastic box full of all of my army from taking them around your place. So it's probably in there somewhere. Well, it is in there somewhere. Yeah, and as you know, John, I sent this picture through last minute.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was sort of rushing around, going, what have I forgot? So,
what coloured blue do you use for the power fists?
My own mix.
Oh, really?
It's not really my own mix. I mean, basically, all I did is, I can't remember what the colour was called. Right, okay, so there's Vallejo silver, just the basic silver, and then what colour was it? I think it was called Magic Blue, Vallejo Magic Blue, and I just basically squeezed them together in one of the little dripper pots that you can buy. Added a little bit of quite a bit of flow aid as well into it, so it's almost like a wash. And because it's quite strong, surprisingly, the blue's quite strong.
Yeah.
It goes on quite nice, but also there is a very slight sort of shimmer from the silver as well. Very slight, you can barely notice it, but if you twist it in the light, it is there. And then I dry brush it as well with usually some white, but it's probably what is it? The skull white, not the pure white, because that would be a little bit too strong. And I just dry brush the fists. It looks pretty cool. It does. It's something. It's almost like, I don't know if anyone's. I know it's a little bit off topic. Anyone's ever played Skyrim and you've got stuff called Stalrim in it?
Yeah.
So Glen knows what I'm talking about. So it sort of looks similar to that close up, and that's what I was going for. But yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the blue in some of your other posts, and I've always wondered whether it's the
power swords. Yeah, I use it for everything, and in my mind, it's almost like that's the one color for weapons and anything like that I think sets off the red, because the red can be a little bit boring when everything's just the same. So I like to have that point of at least something interesting is going on to draw the eye.
Very cool.
Really nice. And then you downloaded you've got Hired Gun, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
How's your experience with that?
It's like every game. I mean, I wouldn't say every single game, but like most games, when anything's first released, I mean, especially Games Workshop. I mean, I'm not being horrible or anything, but we know what bugs they get with certain things. And I've been looking at some of the responses online and stuff, and some people have been really overly hard. You know the way people are on the internet, especially about Games Workshop.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, they've released it when it's not ready. And actually, there are bugs with it, but it's not a massive budget game. It cost me £28. I mean, what's a game now? Is it sometimes like 50 quid now? So it's not a high budget game. It's 28 quid. It's built apparently by like an indie company. And it's not bad for the money. It's a really good game, I think. There are some bugs, but they will be ironed out, hopefully. And if they're not, you haven't lost too much money. I really enjoyed playing it. I played it for about 5 hours with no bugs, hardly any bugs at all. And then all of a sudden I got 3 or 4 bugs, and it put me off playing with it for a while. Went back on it again later on in the day, and it was fine again. So it's just one of them things. Some people have got nothing happening wrong with it. Other people have got literally a bug every 5 minutes by the sound of them. But I don't think it's really that bad. I actually think it's a really decent game. And some of the atmosphere in it is phenomenal. It was never going to be a perfect game for that price. They would never charge £28 for the perfect, say, I don't know, like a Witcher 3 or a Skyrim of its day. It wasn't high budget like that. But I'm really enjoying it, and obviously I like the you've got you can upgrade your Cyber Mastiff that you've got there. You can upgrade yourself. The weapons are decent. They're good. They're interesting, but there's not as much of a selection as I probably would have liked myself. And you can't fight. Probably my biggest gripe is you can't fight with a specific melee weapon. You have a power that lets you use a melee weapon in battle, which is the power knife you can see him holding in that poster there. But there isn't. You can't, for example, draw a sword and go to battle like melee. It's otherwise. It's all guns, apart from if you get close up like an assassin, then you can stab him with the knife. Yeah, it's decent.
Would you recommend
rambling on there? I would definitely recommend it, to be honest. For 28, like I say again, 28 quid. It's not expensive, and I also think there's going to be some DLCs for it, possibly. People have said so. By that time, maybe if everything's ironed out, it's definitely worth it, I think.
But it's only been out a week, hasn't it? And normally, as I said, they'll have a patch or whatever in the next couple of weeks that should hopefully fix a few of those glitches that people are having. Literally. And then I might give it a look, because as I said, I think with a lot of Games Workshop games, they're just going to take our money, right? We're going to pay for it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the fact that it's I think for a general someone buying this game who is not aware of Games Workshop or Necromunda or any of the lore or anything like that might be like not as happy with it. But I think anyone that is aware of Necromunda, the narrative and all that sort of stuff, you're going to get a lot more out of it. So as you said, I think for that price, it's probably worth a go.
And I think just specifically for the atmosphere, if you, it's not perfect. If you're looking for something, 4K, everything looks exact. It's not that, but it is still breathtaking. I mean, some of it, if you get a good frame rate and everything, it looks spectacular. And you've got, I'm sure you've seen some of the trailers and that, where you got these enormous like grav trains, and literally your controller shakes when you're next to one, and it's like boom, straight past you. And it is very atmospheric, and it does look how I imagine one of those hive cities or like would look, So
can you play online with others, or is it just campaigns?
No, I think. I mean, to be honest, I haven't looked too much into it. There wasn't a lot to select from. I didn't go into it. I just went straight into the campaign. But I'm pretty sure it's just, at the moment at least, single player. But correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, whoever.
Cool, fair enough. Because I mean, I don't really have much time to play video games. I mean, the only time I play is when I play Deathwing with you guys.
What, you mean when we're all drunk and stumbling around in the dark?
Yeah, and Dave's just screaming at us.
Yeah. Follow me, brothers. That was horrific the other night. Actually, do you know what? Let me just quickly tell the story, just for you guys who don't know. Me, Dave, and John went on Deathwing, and just to wind one of the really high-level guys up, Dave was continuously spamming "Follow me, brothers," no matter where he was going. And this guy was just like, "What is going on?" But yeah, it was hilarious. You had to be there.
We just get abused by Dave because he either wants you to follow him immediately, or he's shouting at you when you get into a battle, and then you come down to help him. He tells you off for taking his position. Like, he's just getting shouted. You can't do right by him. You're just getting shouted at. So I just walk around smashing doors down.
That I got to admit, that was bloody annoying. Me and Dave sealed all the doors off, trapped everything out. We was like, right, okay. And then Dave was obviously spamming "Follow me, brothers." And then John come along and smashed all the doors down, let everything back in. I like to wait till you guys have walked off a bit, smash the door down, and then you're like, "Oh, how are they getting behind us?" And obviously the mystery disappears pretty quickly. Yeah. Yeah. So while we're on video games, I suppose we should talk about the SKULLS event that's just happened. So as we said, we're moving on to the SKULLS event that just happened. Who did watch it or who didn't watch it?
I watched the live stream.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
No. What did you guys think, like, of all the sort of announcements and releases? I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I feel like a lot of it was updates and DLC content, and not too much in the way of new games. Although there was a couple.
Yeah, I watched it on YouTube pretty much as soon as they posted it. So I don't know whether because it was half an hour, so I don't know if that took longer on the live stream, Glenn. I don't know if it was like whether they talked between each video like they normally do, or did they just run it straight through?
There was a couple of people popped up to. I didn't see the YouTube stream. It might just have been a recording of what they put up. But yeah, no, there was no kind of people sort of comparing the thing. It was pretty much just video.
Yeah.
It was quite a bit of DLC for stuff. Some for very good games, to be fair. But like you say, there was a lot of this is for a game that's already out. There wasn't a lot of look at the new shiny thing.
Well, I watched it on Twitch. It was really weird because obviously we had Warhammer Fest where it was the two hosts, and there was like an intro, and it was very structured. So I watched it on Twitch. So they did half an hour of trailers with not a lot of explanation, but then they did do a hosting thing. So I can't remember the guy's name, but he does a lot of the painting tutorials now.
He does the painting. Yeah, I think the YouTube thing was exactly the same then.
Yeah, and then he was with a girl, I can't remember her name, and then they talked about stuff, but they didn't talk about every trailer that came out. They talked about a couple of bits from that, and then some different stuff. And it was a very weird, disjointed experience, I thought. It
felt quite, I mean, it was half an hour, but it felt like they were trying to pack a lot in, but what they packed in was maybe, some of it was very surface level. But as I said, there were a few bits in there that like made me raise the eyebrow and go, that's quite interesting. And like, you know, I talk about combat cards, but that is running like its own Skulls kind of promotion at the same time. So I think it's almost more for the developers that make this stuff. It's, you know, they get involved in it, and it's a way that they get their stuff pushed, which is why, I don't know, it felt quite quick and not really announced until suddenly I saw the video and was like, oh, this was happening.
Yeah. But it's weird because even at the time, they were like, I don't really know how they work. But they were like, oh, we haven't got a lot of time to talk about anything. So when they were talking, they were just prattling through. It's like, well, you're on Twitch. Like, I don't think it's costing them anything to do. They could have, if they're really that interested, they could have sat there for as long as they wanted and talked about things in a bit of depth and really sold it rather than just be like, this is this, moving on, this is this, moving on, which is, I find it, even with Warhammer Fest, I find it very weird how they would just, here's 40 minutes of what's coming up, and that's it. I feel like their presentation's a bit weird. But anyway, that's just my
I can't comment because I don't really know what they used to do before. I mean,
Take Note Games Workshop.
we'll breeze through what they did announce. So mostly, so some updates here for Total Warhammer 2 and Total Warhammer 3, and then Underworld. So it's just like DLC. Does anyone play any of these at all, or got anything to really go into?
No, I don't play. I know Total War is like well liked in the I suppose game playing community of Warhammer. And I know, like as I mentioned earlier, like I've been playing Rights of War, which is kind of like a precursor to these. But other than that, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that will be really pleased that this is coming, but I don't play them.
I think it's like a couple more factions and missions for all of it, really. So if you're playing them already, you're just going to get a bit more of what you already love. But
I think the Total War 3, that is a new game. That's not a DLC pack. That is the new ones coming out. And I think is it in the current age now as well, whereas the previous Total War games were the old world.
I think you're right.
I think from memory of watching the video, it seemed to be like the Stormcast and all that kind of stuff. So in that kind of realm, or I could be mixing it up with something else that I watched. But yeah, it'd be good to see, because I like the Total War games for Warhammer. But I just found it really funny that the first Total War Warhammer game that came out after they'd already gone to Age of Sigmar. So you still had like Karl Franz and as the Emperor and all the stuff that is from the old world, but you then go, oh cool, I want to get that, and oh no, the game's not like that anymore. Oh okay, right. It's a bit daft, but yeah, obviously they decided to change the system when the game was still in development.
The only thing I know about Total War is that there's an absolute shed load of cinematics and stuff that you can look at on YouTube. There are, I think, I mean, this is before all of this come out. There was at least, I think it was 45 minutes or so of it before all of the new ones, and that was probably a couple of years ago. So God knows what there is now, at least over an hour, I'd say.
Yeah, Total War games are amazing. I haven't actually played the Warhammer ones, but I'm a big fan of games. So I think that they would do it justice, and from what I've seen, gameplay as well is really good. I'm considering actually getting one of these because I love the Total War games, and this is the first sort of announcements that I've had while I've been in the hobby.
So is it online, Dave? Is it all online, or is it like you play against the computer, or you can choose?
Usually for the Total War, and I think it's the same for these ones as well, is there's like a campaign where it's very much sort of like it's a turn-based, and you've basically got to conquer as much as you can of the world. But then you can have online battles as well.
Oh, cool.
And then you can just basically, very, very similar to sort of how you would play on the tabletop, I guess, rather than turn-based. It's just very tactical and points after match. So I think it'd be awesome. So I'm definitely looking at getting the Warhammer game.
Cool.
Right, and then some more other stuff that they come up with. So the first one is Tempestfall, which is like a VR game for Age of Sigmar, and it said on there quite clearly it's still a work in progress. And I mean, as much as you want to sort of immerse yourself into the world and fight, like hopefully by the time this game comes out, the graphics and the gameplay will look a bit nicer than it did in the trailer, because it looks a bit disjointed and glitchy. But otherwise, it's
but does that always happen on Twitch anyway, and on YouTube and all that sort of thing, doesn't it? Usually, everything's compressed or whatever they say.
I don't know, and it's so early with that one as well. Like, you know, with it being VR as well. Because I think there might have been another VR one, but
there's another VR for 40k coming up. It
looked a bit wonky as well, but I'm sure as it comes forward, it will get a bit better.
Yeah, it's like, because it clearly said like work in progress, but
yeah,
you'd like to think you'll come out with something a little bit more cleaner to make people want to buy. So when hopefully closer to the time they'll release some more footage. And then does anyone have Vermintide 2?
Yeah,
played it.
I've got Vermintide 1, Vermintide 2. Never played either of them.
I mean, because I got Vermintide 2.
I played the first one, and in all honesty, I know some people like it. It's all online. I didn't even know that when I bought it, but I did try it out, and it's really nice when you hit something with a hammer. It makes a nice crunching sound, but there's not a lot to the game, in my opinion, unless you've got a group of mates online who you play it with, sort of like Deathwing. So I sort of went off it quite quick, to be honest.
They come out with 2 new DLC packs for that. So if you want to go back into it, there's a bit more there for you. I don't really know too much about it to add. And then there was Stormground, which is apparently the first ever Age of Sigmar strategy war game.
Yeah, that is the first. Yeah, that's the first one that features Age of Sigmar. At its launch, which I can't remember when they first started going on about it. It was a couple of weeks ago now, but I remember them going on about being the first one at that point.
So it's just basically pick an army and build it and battle. And I think the 3 you can take for now are Nighthaunt, Maggotkin, and Stormcast Eternals to start with and work your way through. And then you had Soul Arena, which is like, it reminded me of like Clash Royale, where it's just cartoony looking characters, and they just sort of all battling in a small arena. And I guess it just is what it is, really. Hope you pick the stronger ones, but Another game for your phone. And then the last one on this page is Silver Tower, which apparently adapted from a board game into a video game. Anybody played Silver Tower?
I played Silver Tower as well.
A few games of it. It's quite a nice little mechanic. I enjoyed playing it.
Mm.
Is it a book as well, Silver Tower? It rings a bell as a book. I don't know why.
There's probably associated books to go along with the box game. Same as they brought out Dark Imperium books for the Dark Imperium launch and things like that. So yeah, I think there is a couple of tie-in novels at least.
From what you saw, do you reckon it would translate from board game to PC all right?
This is the expansion, so it's already kind of.
It's already out.
It's already the base game's already available online.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. And then I think that's it for all the Age of Sigmar and Old World stuff. So then we have Warhammer Lost Crusade.
Has anyone played this yet?
Which?
Yeah.
No.
It's not like the trailer at all.
Every time I see the trailer, I'm like, oh, I really want this. And then I play the game. I downloaded it about 3 times and deleted it 3 times.
Yeah, because you forget. It's like, oh, this is awesome. Oh, no, it's this crap again.
Yeah.
Because this is already out. I think the only reason they put this in was just to say now you can get it if you live in America. That was the only real additional point I think they put to this one.
Well, I still follow the game on Facebook, and they have really gone all out doing loads of stuff for the Skulls week. So there's loads of campaigns and giveaways and stuff like that. But yeah, not enough to make me go back and actually play the game again.
Yeah. And then we've obviously got Hired Gun, which we spoke about in the main part of the pod. And we've got Chaos Gate Demon Hunters, which looks pretty good, I think. Grey Knights going out hunting demons.
So that was the Aaron Dembski Bowden written one. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yes.
Is that not a follow-up to that?
No, that's it. Yes, it was him. That's the one. This is the one where I think there's footage of it as well that's now doing the rounds as a meme. Where it's
really?
like the Grey Knight as he loads up like one of his gauntlets, and it's like me preparing to go and spend a family-sized takeaway budget on plastic soldiers, and like that's like loaded up and going out to Games Workshop. That's quite funny.
Cool. Cheers, mate. Right, so the next one I'm quite excited to get. Dark Tide. The story's been written by Dan Abnett, who did a bit of a introduction to it. What does everyone think about this one?
Pissed off.
Why?
It's not on the PlayStation.
Oh.
Is this the what's it called one? The VR one?
No.
This is the 40k version of Vermintide, isn't it?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, because it's the.
I haven't played Vermintide. Yeah.
It is. It's like the what's the other game? Left 4 Dead. So it's like you're a group horde mode, a group of guys, or group of characters, and just fighting a load of bad guys. And as you said, it is the 40k version of Vermintide.
Okay, because it's because you said like with this one, if it's the same, because you have to rely on your teammates to get through this.
Yeah.
Like so, you can play with up to 3 mates, and then it's like you'll have your specific skills that are going to get you to the end. And if you just run off and do your own thing, and you're greedy, like when you play games with your older brother or younger brother, and you want all the loot and stuff, that's not going to benefit you here.
So a little similar to Deathwing as well, then.
I was going to say, based on Deathwing experiences, you three might struggle.
No, we were.
Follow me, brothers. At least you can't have that in it. But
it depends.
Similar.
When we're less drunk, we work pretty well together. It's the more we sort of tunnel downwards.
Well, me and Dave done quite well when you left.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we thought.
You said that last time.
I don't know what happened, to be honest, when you left.
Yeah. But I like the sound of this one because like you start off as a prisoner, and then the Inquisition come to get you for your skills, and you can earn their trust by going and killing people for them on missions and that. And
so does anyone know what you can actually play as, because it looked to me there's obviously like, I don't know, like an ex soldier, an Ogryn. It looked like
there is an Ogryn,
possibly a female warrior of some sort, but I don't know what the other two were after them.
I think it's just specifically humans. You are Guardsman, because Dan Abnett went off on about speaking about humans, not super soldiers, things like that. You are a man or a woman, probably,
or an Ogryn.
I don't know if the Ogryn's an actual playable character. He might be.
I think he is.
I think he's like your tank kind of. You know, like you get in all of these games, you get different archetypes, right? Or archetypes, and the Ogryn's the tank. You've got the soldier, you've got like your spy, and your assassin type characters, and he's the tank, from what I understand. So he can take a lot, but he's going to be slow and cumbersome, and that's why he's not particularly stealthy.
A good ally to fight the chaos in the Hive City, but other than that,
I think this will be a really good game if you're into that type of game. I think that's the thing. But as I said, I think you've got to be into those sort of horde mode, collaborative games. If that's not your thing, you might struggle.
I want this, but without having to play with other people.
That's exactly it. That's why.
that's. I don't like online gaming with other people.
You might be able to play with computerized characters on your team.
Yeah, well, if it's the same as
sorry,
Vermintide game. Obviously, I've played that without other people, but I wanted to not make me play online.
It's not like Glen's unsociable or anything, though.
Look, I was sociable today. That is me for the next couple of weeks, probably.
And then we've got the new Blood Bowl 3 coming out.
Yeah, I can't wait for this one. I'm really looking forward to this.
I just hope my PC runs it.
Yeah, I had a look straight afterwards, and it's not out for a while. So they
it's early next year. Isn't it?
Yeah, they've really put this up early, but I'm very keen to get it as soon as it's available.
Have you got 1 and 2?
I have had. So I had 1 originally when it was out on the PSP, and I've got 2 on the PlayStation now.
Because they were saying this is going to fix a lot of issues they had with 2. So was 2 not as good as 1?
So the guys that make it, Cyanide Studios, they're like a lot of the developers you get. They're quite a small developer, and there's lots of glitches. But it's one of those things that if you love the game, you see past some of the glitches because you just want to play it. And I really liked it, so I didn't really care that sometimes my save disappeared, or I had to go and save a couple of times to make sure, or missed a skill here or there. There were all these little glitches, but ultimately it's still just really good to play Blood Bowl. So that you get through it, and from what I've heard is that this is just an improvement on everything and brings in some of the mechanics from the latest tabletop version.
Yeah, the new season. Yeah.
And
to be fair, it was supposed to be out this time, right about this time this year, but it's just been massively delayed. It's not like they've put the advertising up really far in advance. It's just the game, unfortunately, has been delayed. Probably COVID didn't help its development last year. But
yeah. And it's still Warhammer Old World as well, which I like.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think they'll ever change Blood Bowl.
No, I don't think so. Well,
it's too entrenched.
And then there was Battle Sector 1 for you, maybe, Tom. It's some Sisters of Battle and Blood Angels fighting a Tyranid invasion on Bowl. And I don't really know what to compare this game to. It was like sort of a...
What style of game is it?
I can't remember. Is it turn-based or is it real-time? No, it's turn-based.
Turn-based, yeah.
It doesn't interest me in the slightest. I'm sorry.
No.
But there are so many games out there, and I'm not just talking about Warhammer, games in general, where I feel, me personally, that I can get more out of than a turn-based game. And if I wanted to play turn-based, I'll come and play someone at a tabletop game now we can, rather than, digitally. So, no, it doesn't do it for me, unfortunately. But I'm sure you guys, Glenn and Shane, will have a different opinion.
I do want to have a look at this. I've seen a lot of reviews about it, and I quite like. So I don't mind turn-based games online. I'm okay with it. And I do like the look of it. I think there's a lot. I'd be interested to know how the story is, because really, for me, when I play these things, it's for the Battle Sector, for example, is one where I'd be playing it for the story and for the lore. And if you go back to the old PlayStation 3 Space Marine game, it's the same. That was a completely different game, but I still loved it because of the story and how it unfolds as it goes. And Battle Sector has that. Driving narrative beyond what we already know about the Tyranid sort of attack on Baal. If it just has a compelling narrative, then I'd enjoy playing it regardless. But as I said, I don't think I'll buy it as soon as it's out. I'll have a look and cautiously decide whether it's for me.
Yeah, similar.
And then the last slide we have. So this first one, I'm just going to get it. Shooters, Blood and Teeth, Orcs, and this looked like. Did anyone ever play Metal Slug?
Yeah, I was going to say this was Metal Slug. That's all it reminded me of.
Yeah, and I used to love that. So I'm going to get this one because Metal Slug with Orcs, and it just looked like complete nonsense.
Metal Slug.
Did you ever play it, Tom?
No. What was it on?
Just like,
it was originally an arcade, and then it was out on Neo Geo, and you could get it on loads of.
So this is like a 2D game then?
Yeah.
Or like a
2D side scroller.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's literally you just keep your finger on the trigger and just keep blasting. Go for it. I mean, these might have a bit more melee, but it looked really good.
Yeah, I might get this one on the Nintendo Switch, which is obviously my kids, but every now and then I pinch it.
So that's it. That's exactly what this game sounds like, isn't it? Something just on a portable device to keep yourself occupied. Yeah, it sounds pretty cool.
That's a good idea. That's how I'm going to sell it. I'm going to say I'm getting it for the kids. Good idea. And then the next VR one was Battle Sister. And this is Sister Battle, basically going around killing cultists in VR. The footage they showed was a bit better than the Nighthawk one, but I don't know if it's just like you said, VR in general, when you're watching someone else do it, was a bit wobbly. But there was some cool stuff going on in the background. You saw some Chaos Marines, some Titans walking around. So you're going to get more immersed into the 40k universe. I think they'll probably throw a bit of everything for you to just take in, I guess. Look pretty good.
For you guys who watched the show, did you see any mention, and obviously I got a vested interest because I've got a PlayStation, of Sony or a PlayStation and anything? To me, it seems like it was the Oculus, Windows, obviously like Xbox. I didn't see any mention of that, so I'm getting a bit worried about if everything's pretty much.
What, for Battle Sister or?
A lot on the whole program so far, I haven't seen, other than obviously Hired Gun, I haven't seen any mention on the bottom about the PlayStation or Sony. Everything that's linked.
A fair amount of the games that were coming out, they're either sort of just PC, or if it's on the Xbox, they're on the PlayStation as well. I think that last 40k game that we were talking about, Dark
Tide.
That's not.
Yeah, that's it.
That's not.
That's Xbox specific, but I think most of the rest of them, they're either PC or all consoles.
Okay, cool.
And then the last one was Dakar Squadron. That's one that's already out. So this was just an update, I think.
Yeah.
It was just like a bunch of
it does
a bunch of orcs flying around in.
Yeah, it's a bit like a little orc shooter flying game.
Yeah, and they've stolen a bunch of ships from. They were flying around in a Necron ship, weren't they, in the trailer?
One of the cross-ons. I don't know.
Yeah. So other than that, I mean, so anyone must-have game that they've seen from what we've just gone through?
I'd like to say Dark Tide if I could have got it. Honestly, if I had ever get a PC, then I'd probably go for that one out of a lot of them.
Yeah. For me, it's probably Blood Bowl 3. That would be the one that I'm hanging out for the most.
Serious that.
Dave?
I'll probably go for Warhammer Total War.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
2 first, and then 3 when it comes out.
Fair enough. And then, I want to get Shooter's Blood and Teeth for the kids, and then I'll probably get Dark Tide as well.
Yes.
So that's the skulls out of the way, and the last thing we really want to talk about is what we've been doing today, or if you're watching this podcast, 2 weeks ago. Shane unfortunately decided he had better things to do. But the rest of us got together at Dave's with his new scenery, and we had a few 500-point games. So we'll just go through sort of how it went, because obviously we've had between me, Tom, and Dave, we've managed to be able to get together and have a couple of tester games. And I know, Shane, you've been playing with your oldest and losing.
Yeah, fair. Tom's been playing with himself a lot as well.
Yeah,
it's the best way, mate. It's cheap and easy.
That's pre-Warhammer, though. He was playing with himself. And Glenn, have you had any before today? Had any games of ninth?
No, literally just the game I run for you guys last summer was my only experience of physically playing ninth, but I didn't even play in that game.
Okay, so like today was sort of really good for all 4 of us, I guess, but especially me, Dave, and Tom, because we had we won't talk about the results just yet. We'll talk about it was good from a learning point of view, because we had someone who has experience with the mechanics of the games and quite often told us we were doing wrong, or stepped in and quite nicely give us a nudge when we were doing things wrong. So we'll roll through. The first picture, Tom, you sent me this one, is I picked Tom up on the way to Dave's, and this is Death Guard and Sanguine Reaper.
Strapped my box of my army that was in a box into a seatbelt in his, was it a booster seat in the back?
Yeah, one of the
Did it do the job? I suppose that's the question: is did it transport them down there without any casualties pre-game?
Nothing broke, but they weren't all upright when we finished. But you'll notice my boxes in the middle are covered with tea towels to weigh them down without breaking them. So they were all still upright, the ones I put in there, right? You haven't got anything broken though, have you, Tom?
I haven't checked, to be honest. No, it seems okay with what I've seen. Not like you with your, what was it you dropped at the end? One of your Plague Marine?
Yeah, literally. We managed to get through the whole day, and as I'm putting away, lazily, I picked up a handful of Marines and threw one on the floor. All I've got to do is glue his arm back on. But the only other thing is my bloat drone does not travel well. And it doesn't.
I was going to say, did the drone make it, or did that?
Yeah, every time I touch it, a spike falls off. So I'm going to have to get another one, because this, even on its shelf, every time I take a book off the shelf, I end up knocking it and it goes flying. It's been repaired about 6 times. But anyway, let's get into. So who played first today?
It was me and Tom.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, it was Dave's house, so let him explain what happened, I suppose.
I smashed him. No, it was very close in the end. It was obviously 500 points. He went for a very elite heavy Sanguine Reapers army, I guess, with his captain, a lieutenant, and was it 5 or 6 Terminators?
It was 5. It was a squad of 5, and then it was with a Terminator Ancient as well.
Okay. With the lists, were there any issues with maybe not quite fully legal lists, or did everyone manage to get 500 points properly tabletop, good to go?
With this one, I don't think it was too legal for me. We did say beforehand it would just be whatever points you have, as long as you're close enough to 500 points. But I don't think there would be a battalion I could take on 500 points to have that many elites.
Right.
Was this the game where Tom was like, "Oh, sorry, I think I'm on 505," and Dave was like, "Yeah, that's fine," and then went up to 5010 by changing the model in, just so he was slightly above you? Was this the game?
No. He fair enough. He put in an extra plasma pistol. But I actually, in the end, went up to 515, and he was on 505, so he let me off the extra 10 points.
So it was you then.
It was me. I was trying to sneak an advantage, but it was the first time I'd used my Terminators my assault Terminators with a Thunderhammer and a short Storm Shield. So I thought I'll give them a go, see what happens. Go Elite Heavy, Terminator Captain, Terminators with a Terminator Ancient. So not very imaginative, but.
And then in terms of the setup of the day, obviously it was just sort of straight up fights, right? No objectives, no other bits and pieces. Was there any deep striking, or was it just deploy and fight as opposed to any of the shenanigans that you can do?
We used everything go through on the list of the units, didn't we, Dave? But
you teleported to Terminators, didn't you? So
okay,
you only had the lieutenant and the captain deployed at the start, and I managed quite early on to take out the lieutenant with the dreadnought, who just came around, and then he dealt with the captain. And I think that's what sort of won the day in the end, because you couldn't get all your buffs.
No, well, I had two plans of action. I mean, I wanted to, obviously, I was relying on deep striking with the 5 Terminators and the Ancient, and then hopefully getting my 9-inch charge in on his main force there.
Yeah.
But for some stupid reason, when I set everything up, I set the captain up on one side, and I didn't even think, and the lieutenant on the other side. So literally, the lieutenant had to now cross the thing to get over to where everything else was, and he was just in the middle of nowhere. So Dave's dreadnought just ended him basically without resistance. And then obviously I didn't make the charge either, Dave, did I? So you pretty much surrounded me.
Yeah, I managed to get the charge in, got the extra attacks, and yeah. In the end, it was very close because your inbound saves obviously brought it back a lot. You took out all of the assault squad and the tactical squad. So they done all right in the end. It was getting to a point where I was thinking, this is looking really good, and I'm just going to wipe it. But he come back at the end, and obviously it was just my dreadnought and Grimaldus in the end. I think the dreadnought came in and wiped the rest of the squad. So
what was your dreadnought on? I can't remember. Was it 2 or 3 wounds, something like that?
Yeah, he didn't have many. Yeah, he didn't have many left.
No, he was right down. I remember laughing because when you surrounded him, Dave, you surrounded Tom. I was like, well, this is going to be quite quick, and then he just started hacking away. I thought he was pulling it back, but then like you say, victory to the Templars.
How did you in that first game? Was there anything stand out for either of you in terms of the mechanics or what you thought about it? Like for instance, the melee combat or anything like that. Was there anything that you thought, okay, that didn't work how I was expecting it to?
I think it just. I think for me, it just it highlights the luck of the dice.
Yeah,
is that some of Tom's rolls were awful, and the Thunderhammers couldn't do anything, and I got away with it a lot. And then he had a couple of good rolls, and then just wiped out his squads. So it could have gone the other way, 100%. So yeah, you got to be very, very careful when it comes to Terminators, because they could have easily wiped everything off that table if you got a couple of better rolls.
I think for me, though, also in that first game, because you didn't use all of your Grimaldis buffs, did you, at first?
No.
And I kept forgetting to use I had an Ancient in there with a banner, but it was pretty much pointless because I didn't use any of it up until the last second. I didn't use any of the captain's buffs up until I realised he was dead. So yeah, me and Dave both didn't use pretty much any of our extra auras or buffs. So that's at least alerted us to that, and we needed to sort that out for the next game.
Fair enough.
We didn't have the buff of Glen for this game.
Glen's a perfect buffer,
helping us through. So unless either of you got anything else for this one, move on to game 2, which was the Black Templars versus the Death Guard. Yeah, good game, really good game. I enjoyed this one. I don't know why. But this is a list that I've played before for the test game. So it's 16 Poxwalkers, a Lord of Contagion, 5 Terminators, and a Plague Surgeon to keep my Terminators.
Don't forget the 18 stratagems.
Well, you say that. I was reading from the Codex a lot, and then I was reading stuff out that didn't apply, but I never used anything that didn't work. But yeah, I get told off for not reading the Codex. So when I'm like, oh, I think I've got something for that, and I read it out, then they're having a go at me for adding stuff on because they're very bad losers, Shane.
Were you using stratagems without spending command points? Was that the?
Well,
he was doing that.
No, but we did figure that out. I tried. I did try. I did try, and then Glen showed me the errors of my ways, but I never actually used any.
How did the Pox boys go?
They did all right. I mean,
they
you
did
see
make
that
it
second photo.
but they done all right.
No,
I mean, they did their job, right?
Was
Decayed meat shield for the rest of the units.
Yeah, I mean, they helped. They definitely helped me because obviously you could see there, like Lord of Contagion got a nice blanket in front of him there, and I was able to get first blood as well. And if it wasn't for them, I don't think the Lord of Contagion would have been as successful as he was, because eventually, what was your two squads? Sorry, Dave.
Yeah, at this point, obviously, so I managed to put one Poxwalker down with my pistols before getting into combat, then dropped another 7. But then obviously the Lord of Contagion got into combat with me and he charged, and obviously that's where it all went wrong, really. So they're perfect sort of, like you say, meat shield to stop them. And obviously I charged in my tactical squad as well, hoping to take out the Lord of Contagion before the Terminators and the Plague Surgeon came over. Didn't go as well.
You, Dave, as well, was when didn't you get your toughness going down to 3 because of his whatever it was, which really done you a massive damage. Like,
well, that's the thing is, but I just think the Death Guard are so hard to fight against because they bring down your toughness, and their toughness is going to be above yours anyway. And it is just obviously the Poxwalkers are relatively easy to deal with, but they're going to take up a lot of your attacks.
And they can come back.
And they can come back, which isn't ideal. I think Death Guard are just really difficult to play against, especially in the smaller sort of matches as well. Because some of their weapons, like the Flail of Corruption and stuff like that, is just ridiculous.
It's overpowered. I mean, let's be honest. Compared to us and what me, you, and Glen was using, they are overpowered, I think. But obviously, that's a good thing for John. But whatever.
Did you use the same list, Dave, as you did in the first game, or did you tweak it?
So just to get it going, and because obviously John had his ready to go, I didn't swap them around. This wouldn't be the list that I take against Death Guard usually.
What would you have used, Dave? The swap pod again?
That was
no, because I think he was expecting that, so I would have gone for my Terminators and then had a Terminator captain as well. And I think I would have then had something to go up against his Terminators with. But yeah, I mean, obviously, just to keep it sort of rolling and make it all a bit quicker. It was interesting. I still learned a lot, and that was the main aim of the day. So,
and then the worst part for you, I think, was because he's not in the pictures there, but the Plague Surgeon was following the Terminators and eventually caught up and actually managed to heal my Lord of Contagion back to full health at one point.
Twice.
And he already had an extra wound, didn't he?
Yeah, he had an extra wound.
Yeah, somehow. John wrote that somewhere in the back of his codex.
There's lots of biro in my codex. And I was just like, so yeah, we had that first sort of skirmish on one side, and then my Terminators were following up.
Came and joined in.
Yeah, because initially the Terminators were heading up their own path towards the Dread and Grimaldus, but I think you killed one with the Dread from a distance, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to go behind this terrain and go and join in and back up my Lord of Contagion, because I was worried at the time when you piled in with everything that they were going to get killed. So turned their attention over to here, and as you can see, they picked off the last of Dave's guys here, and then it was just 2 Poxwalkers, 4 Terminators, the Lord of Contagion, and the Plague Surgeon to go up against the Dread and Grimaldus.
I have to ask at this point, What was, just because we was learning, what was the mistake that was made with the bolters or the whatever they were?
He was rolling twice as many dice as he should have done.
Yeah, because I asked. Wait. Before we get into
getting wiped out by bolters, like my whole fucking day. And then everyone was like, "Yeah, it's gonna be so embarrassing if he gets killed by a fucking bolter." And it was because he was firing twice as many.
But to explain it away, and in my defence, the question was, we weren't sure because obviously they're combi bolters. So the guys they've got the bolters, but they're combi flamer, combi melter, and combi plasma. So I asked Glenn about how that works, and I said, "Do we get to fire both?" And he said, "Yeah." And we didn't really. It wasn't until later on that Glenn realised that we'd made a mistake because we were firing. Because someone did say, "Oh no, it's because you're firing a combi weapon, it's less." But for some reason, obviously I didn't pick up on it.
Funny that.
Yeah, we just went as if they were just combi bolters, but not combi flamers and stuff. So yeah, I did fire a couple extra rounds into the dread, but in the grand scheme of things, I would
have lost anyway. There was I think once I didn't take out the Lord of Contagion because the aim is sort of to take Grimaldus buffing the Dreadnought against the Terminators, and then having the tactical squad and the assault squad take out the Poxwalkers and Lord of Contagion. And as soon as that didn't happen, I think that was game over anyway. I don't think there's anything that changed.
And I do think throughout this game, I pretty much kept forgetting about the Contagion range and forgetting to bring your toughness down. And I know I did it with Glen as well. It's just saying that I forgot to mention. And then that's the final stand for.
I was going to say your guys had a debrief afterwards, didn't they? In your little picture you had there.
Oh yeah.
Just get in.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they were high-fiving each other on a job well done. Yeah. But overall, that was a good game, though.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and that's the thing. I learned a lot from it, and I
think that was the biggest win as well, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I got absolutely wiped. Yeah.
And then I knew I was going to win that easy. And then Glenn steps up to the plate to take on the Sanguine Reapers.
Who is net?
I was going to say this is the net. I did see that on Instagram. The fishnet tank.
It's camo netting.
No, I know.
Unfortunately, it makes no difference in the game anymore.
Yeah. Right.
I love I bought a bag of oranges specifically for making that net. I don't eat oranges, but I bought a bag of them for it.
I was going to say, so the Sanguine Reaper list, was it the same list as you started the day with, Tom, or did you change it up for this battle?
No, I was 90% sure in my mind that Glenn was going to go with armoured vehicles because obviously he's been saying that for God knows how long now. So he has sort of let us know that's what he was going to do. So I thought I need something tough that's just going to cut through that and sort of get rid of them. So obviously I went for the Redemptor. Thought I'd chuck him in there, and I hadn't used him before, and he was literally armed to the teeth. Everything I could put on him pretty much was there. So I think he was an 185-point model out of the 500, which is obviously quite a chunk, but I thought it was worth it because I thought I needed, because like Glenn sort of did say anyway, because he does help us out now and again, and he sort of, the guys, the Imperial Guard, almost basically like Poxwalkers when they get out. So you need to take out their armoured vehicles. So yeah, I went with him and Power Fist Captain just to try and basically stay as close to him as possible to get my re-rolls, which didn't always work to plan. And then I went with not at all, to be honest with it. And then I also went with Vindicare Assassin, which I left off the field of battle, and my 5-man intercessor squad, assault intercessors, because I did actually battle forge this army, so it was a legit army on this occasion.
And so before I go, I've got follow-up questions. Before I go into that, Glenn, what was your list for this one?
So a company commander as a warlord, 2 squads of just standard Guardsman, one special weapon in each. In Chimeras, a company command squad, which was just 4 vets with sniper rifles, and a mounted corps.
Ah, very good, very good. And how did so? Back to you, Tom. Did your game plan work? Did what you had in mind in terms of trying to take out the tanks? Did it work out for you?
I mean, it didn't. It did in the end. I did make some mistakes. I think I did get. Glen had a couple of poor rolls, I'll admit, with these. Remind me of the name again. The tank.
The Manticore.
Manticore. I keep saying. What is it? I keep saying Hurricane. That's it. For some reason. Anyway, yeah. With his Manticore, he had some decent hits at the beginning, but in the middle, I think he had like 3 out of these. Was it 4 shells that you could use in total?
Yeah.
So I think 3. Pretty much, you just got pretty poor rolls on it.
Yeah, 2. I would say 2 of them let me down. 2 of the 4 weren't as good. But then again, that's a squad killer. It's not a tank killer. To be completely honest, it was very difficult to try and chip a lot of wounds off your dreadnought with that. I think I was more let down trying to kill that with the melter gun, because the melter gun was standing right beside it, and if I got the right rolls, that would have done the dread. But unfortunately, most of the damage I done to that dread was done by bloody las guns.
Yeah, you chipped away, didn't you? Just constantly chipped away, and all the big weapons didn't seem to. Yeah.
And then did the assassin do any work?
Yeah, he, to be honest, there wasn't much of a tactical reason other than the fact that I wanted to use him to get him in there to use because he's got so many different I don't know what you call them, special abilities, buffs, whatever they are, and I got him in there, and he did actually he almost took out Glen's Warlord, because I snuck him around the corner, perfect line of sight, and he's got this thing. Was it headshot or drop shot? Something like that.
Yeah, headshot.
And so if you injure somebody in a specific unit, if he takes a wound, you can then roll on a +3. You give him another wound, and then on a +4, you give him another wound, and then on a +5, you give him another wound, and you just keep going until you can't roll anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I took pretty much, I think, 3 or 4 wounds off of him, and that was after rolling a weak D3, wasn't it? Which come out as a 1 instead of a. Well, I wanted to.
Yeah, you took 3 wounds off if you got the 3 on the D3.
Yeah, it would have killed.
You would have killed him, but you left him with 2 wounds. But then the dreadnought messed him up.
Yeah, and I think other than that, all he did really is act as a bit of a deterrent. And I don't know. I don't think he would have added much at all if we was playing like points and stuff like that, or objectives, because since it was sort of like first to kill the other side stuff, he was right over the other side of the map, and whatever happened, even if I had lost all of my units that are close, he would have had to travel all the way over towards him while he's shooting at them.
Yeah,
that would make sense in this case.
It depends whether, if we had like 3 objectives, because one of them would be in the middle, and then I guess one closer to either side, he probably would have, in that situation, he'd have been all right to hang back in that area.
Yeah, maybe.
So I think you'd have done all right with him in this setup anyway.
I think I'm looking forward to putting him and maybe even both of the other assassins, or all 4 if I can get hold of the Caladus one as well, into like a 1,000, 1,500 point army, just to use all of their different styles. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, man. And then I was surprised that you won this. I mean, obviously you got the big old dread, but on sheer numbers, I was quite amazed how this turned out.
I think, like Glen said, I rely on hitting hard, and at the beginning, it was average what I was doing, and towards the end, I got, as you saw, with is it the macro cannon? Is it macro plasma cannon, something like that? And he started taking massive chunks out of things, so I just got lucky in the end. Like I say, roll of the dice, but also obviously. my captain was pretty much right at the back, so he was unscathed for ages, and he come in and helped out a little bit. And yeah, that was it really. Glen got a bit unlucky. I'll admit, Glen was pretty unlucky though throughout the game.
A couple of his rolls were just
pretty bad, especially considering the amount he was having. But the only thing I will say that I learned from the game specifically was, and it was just like when I was looking at it, I was more thinking of just going, well, I take out them, then I take out them, and then I thought Glen had been using this thing. What was it called with your warlord guy? The double fire thing.
The orders, first rank fire, second rank fire. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was so close to leaving that guy alive just so that he could have done it again, and potentially that would have been the end for my dreadnought if it had come through. And I took out, and I thought, no, oh God, the first time I've ever thought tactically in a game. So I took out him, and then he couldn't do it with the rest of the guys that were left. I'm not saying it was a masterstroke, but I think it did help me a little bit.
This was a bit of a weird one as well, because like this game, at first, I thought it was going to be really quick because quite a lot of things got killed quickly. And then like in this picture, or when we go back one way, everything got quite close. It was such a slugfest. Like you literally were just exchanging wounds and attacks for quite a while.
It got a bit boring at the end because we sort of knew that I was going to win. And I said, well, Glen sort of wanted to quit. And I was like, well, no.
He left the room saying, I quit, and you went no and started rolling dice.
Pretty sure you're allowed to concede. I think that's it.
Oh, no. I didn't. I genuinely didn't fault him. But he said, yeah, we'll go to the end.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Tom threatened him.
Yeah, and well,
Yeah. But a good game. So that was your 1-1 for you, wasn't it, by the end of the day?
Yeah.
And then we go into the last game, which was the Death Guard versus Salamanders. But I put a question mark to Salamanders because nothing was painted green, and the only thing that was painted was blue.
Hey, one of the dreads had at least got a
colourblind Salamanders,
or like an undercoat.
Did any of them have flamers?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there you go. Then. That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The captain had a combi melter, and the two dreads with fists had heavy flamers. So bit of fire.
Yeah. I was
going to say, did you change your list for this one, John?
Yeah, I did. So while Glen and Tom were playing, I built a list. I thought, do you know what? Building a list for the Death Guard for 500 points, because I haven't got everything, it's quite hard because we took everything with us today, and I really wanted to get either my bloke drone or the blight haulers involved, but they're so expensive.
Yeah.
I didn't want to just field one, because then it's like, do I have a squad of plague marines, or do I have some sort of vehicle? But yeah, it's too expensive. So literally here, as you can see, I had Lord of Contagion again because Typhus is too expensive for 500 points. I kept the Terminators in as are, and then I added 7 plague marines. So you got the champion, and then one with a plasma, one with a flail, and then the others just just bolters. Sorry. So that was all that I had, and then obviously you can see that bottom picture. I was actually really worried going into this. I thought I was just going to get smashed instantly.
So what was your list for this one, Glen? 3 dreadnoughts and a captain.
A captain, 2 dreadnoughts, and a venerable dreadnought.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
2 stock dreadnoughts. So the Ven Dread was a missile launcher, twin las. Because if I'm going to hit on 2s, I might as well hit with good weapons.
Yeah, fair.
And if you are watching this, obviously the picture of mine's misleading. I just did that to take a picture of my squad. The Terminators I teleported in on round 2, so I took them off the table after this just for a photo. So, and there's a picture of Glen.
Sorry, Glen.
The Tom sent me.
What? Why?
Because it looks like you kicked out a dog.
Okay.
Right. So the picture's not here, but essentially, so to start with, you mowed through my plague marines, took a couple of those out pretty early on. 2 or 3 of them straight away, wasn't it?
Yeah, at least 2, I think.
And the issue with plague marines, like anyone who knows, obviously move very slowly. So you only have 5 inches, and then it's like, well, I want to get some rounds in, because if I advance to get into combat, then I can't shoot, and then I risk getting wiped out. And they were with my Lord of Contagion, so they were just moving slowly to start with, and Glen picked me off, and I think I managed to get 2 wounds onto one of your dreads in the first round.
Yeah, you chipped a couple off, I think.
Yeah. But other than that, round 1 wasn't very exciting. So round 2, I moved everyone forward again, and then I teleported in my Terminators, and we managed to kill off that first dread quite easily. But you did wipe out all but one of my Plague Marines.
Yeah.
In that second round. And then...
I mean, like the massive thing for you was getting that charge with the Terminators.
Yeah.
If you hadn't got that, and I got another round of shooting at them, and they've been able to charge the Dreadnought, if I'd been swinging first, I would have killed a couple of them. Yeah. And it would have made it a bit more difficult for you to drag the Dreadnought down with them. Yeah. But, you know, it's like Dave said earlier, it's luck of the dice makes a big difference, especially in small games, because you haven't got that many things that if that doesn't work, I've got that as an option.
I was going to say, small games and no command points. It means it is all based on, and no stratagems as well. It becomes much more about the.
We
dice,
did use some command points, mostly just the command rerolls, because both lists that I took were 100% legal Battleforged lists.
Yeah.
So used a couple for the rerolls. Basically, didn't use any stratagems as such. It was literally just command reroll or Overwatch.
Yeah.
Oh right, cool.
Yeah, but yeah. So my charge for my Terminators paid off. But as you can see in that second picture, I did lose 3 Terminators. By the time I killed 2 dreads and the captain, and there was just that one guy in the background. And he got a few kicks in though, didn't he? Got a few kicks in.
He didn't kill anything. He did spend about 3 rounds just sort of shin kicking your last Terminator. As you tried to, we sort of just ended up kind of slapping at each other. Nobody did much, and eventually he got dragged down.
Yeah, I mean, 1 Terminator, Lord of Contagion, and 1 Plague Marine, but 2 flails there. I love a flail. I'm going to get some more of those, because once they're in, they're lethal. They're horrendous.
How many can you have of them per unit or whatever? 1, isn't it? 1 or 2?
It's limited, so I think I've got to double check, because I think with 10 Terminators, you may be able to get 2 in there.
The actual codex or John's codex.
Well, my Biro codex, I can actually have for no points. I can have 5 extra Terminators with flails for no extra points. All I've got to do is give you a can of Diet Pepsi at the start of the game. That's written into the codex, man.
John's Codex,
yeah. Coming soon to eBay. So I won 2 games, so I'm well happy. I didn't take the trophy home though, Tom. You didn't give me the trophy.
Well, yeah.
Is that because I didn't beat you today?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was more to the point of the fact that the trophy was bloody garbage, and I felt embarrassed to give it to anyone on that podium. I was like, nah. We'll wait until we're all together, including Shane, and I'll make a proper one, just as a laugh.
But all in all, a good day, I think.
I mean, it certainly sounds like it. I think you, by the sound of it, you've learned a lot as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Everyone needs a copy of John's Biro codex so that we can see what we're coming up against.
But unfortunately, it changes game to game.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So I just need to know what army you're playing, Shane, when we play, and I'll adapt it accordingly.
I'm going to keep that quiet. I think so I've only got 2 to choose from. So
actually, that's one thing. Before we move on, I sort of learned. I know no one specifically takes advantage of it. We'll learn it, but when you actually come into a game, I think it's really good to just instead of us like swapping our lists and stuff like that. Don't tell anyone, or do you? Because you only have to declare it right at the beginning of the game, don't you? So they can't. Is that correct, Glenn or Shane? You don't have
depends.
to
Do
send
it
them.
whatever way you want.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
know,
Like if
But
you're
instead of giving them like ages to get everything perfect to completely wipe you out, you can, last minute sort of say, "This is what I'm going with." There you go.
but whenever you say let the person not letting the person know, like I could say, yeah, I'm gonna bring Marines. That's so vague. Or I'm bringing guard. I could be bringing 100 infantry and not one tank, and you could have rocked up with nothing but tank killing weapons that are going to kill one guardsman with each shot, or really fucking kill him. Or a marine army that's all jump packs and bikes, so it's really fast and it's going to be on top of you straight away. There's no way of knowing sort of what, unless you're going to be very specific and go, right, here I'm going to play you next week, there's my list. Then someone can tailor it by all means. But
that's what I mean, though. I mean, isn't that? I know it gets more into, I suppose, like championship games and stuff like that, of picking something that could beat potentially anything. But I know, these are just friendly games or whatever. But what's the done thing? For example, if even as friends you meet to have a 1,000-point game, do you share lists before you play and you go, right, there's my list, and you put it on the table? Or do you give them this is what I'm going to come with, so set your army around that, which would seem to give an advantage to them?
I think it depends how you want to play it, because you get some players that want to play, they want to play like a game that's more, more about the experience, a close game, 4 or 5 turns, that's quite narrative driven, and then they might, both players might work on their lists together. Like, okay, so this is what I want to take and what I want to play with. What do you bring that's like an equal foil, so that the game's balanced and it's good fun for both? You get others who just want to dial it in because they're tournament type players, or that's their mindset, and they just want to dial it in to have the most efficient list possible, as you said, for most circumstances. And they will be like, every game is about tweaking it, changing the units out, stratagems, to the point where they've got a really efficient list. And they don't care if it takes, it could be 2 turns and you're tabled.
Yeah.
It all depends on which way you want to play.
For me personally, I don't know about you guys, but I think that hopefully there's some sort of balance in it.
Yeah.
You're playing to win, but at the same time, you don't want to sort of go, oh, we'll do this together. You sort of want to have your own side to it. So I think I'd probably go in the middle if I could. I don't know, somewhere.
I think most of the times if you're going to play a game against me, I won't necessarily care what you're bringing. I will go, I fancy taking that.
Yeah.
Like, look at, the amount of stuff I have, and I rocked up with 3 dreadnoughts and a captain because I thought, oh, it'll be a laugh. I didn't think it would be particularly good. It's not like I went, all right, I'm facing death guards, I'm going to need lots of high strength, to do that. I just went, yeah, screw it. Like,
Shock factor.
I like a bit of a themed army as well. It's just, that works. I'll take that. But I'll try and let the person know at least what army I'll be bringing, so they'll have at least a reasonable idea. Kind of going, okay, bring Marines. I'll probably want some plasma or some high AP stuff, so that they can have a little think about it. But like against the rest of you guys, I will know I'm going to be facing power armor, or thereabouts with Necrons, and power armor. So anything that's going to be AP -2, -3 is going to be very, very beneficial to me. Whereas I could rock up with, like, say, loads of guardsmen, and you've got loads of high strength or high damage weapons that are going to do very little, and I'll lose a handful of guardsmen.
So without going into depth too much, Glenn, for example, if you knew what I was going to use against you today and you still had to use the guard, what would you have changed, or would you have gone exactly the same?
For the list you brought, if I knew exactly what you were going to bring, I would have probably taken a tank commander in a Vanquisher, which is so basically my commander would have been in a Lehman Ross that is specifically designed to be an anti-vehicle destroyer, basically. So I could really, really tailor what I wanted to take, but I would never take a Vanquisher in a normal game because I don't see the point of it. Generally, there's enough things that can deal with vehicles. I don't need a specific vehicle killer in a well-rounded army list. But it comes down to what you like at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like I looked in your box of toys and I was like, yeah, those Outriders, I'm going to build some of them. I quite like the ATV. It's a bit weird looking, but I'll have to get me one of them because I just like the
You
look
thought
of
the
it.
weapons out on that as well, pretty good. Was it twin multi-melter? Or yeah, it's pretty decent.
I'd probably run
15-inch.
Yeah, I'd probably run it with the Gatling just for sheer weight of fire.
Yeah.
You know, so it's personal preference, really. Don't listen to me about anything. Just go what you like the look of.
Just the guy who lost twice.
Yeah.
All the more reason not to listen to me.
Yeah. Well,
But
I was going to say,
like, to Glen, how many times did he let us know?
Yeah.
Why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done that?
I was going to say, like,
it was generally you need to roll an extra dice against me. So
yeah. he was very good to it. Like, he really did help us beat him. But the one thing he kept doing, every time you had anything with plasma, he was trying to convince us to supercharge it. No matter what.
Glen supercharger McCann.
Everything, supercharge it.
I
give it a go.
By it because as soon as I was able to fire my guy with the plasma gun, I supercharged it. He died, but I supercharged it.
Yeah. So your advice is not welcome when it comes to plasma. The rest of the time, we really need you.
Like I say, a Guardsman with a plasma gun. If he dies, he dies. A Terminator with a combi plasma that costs probably about 35, 40 points a model. If he dies, that's a bigger loss. So I was just trying to get. I wanted to see some guys explode.
Right. Do we have anything else we want to go over from the last couple of days or whatever? Or are we going to say goodbye?
Good.
It sounded really sad there, John.
Well, I really enjoy this. I don't like saying goodbye. I miss you guys.
Been with us all day.
I know.
Literally.
I don't want it to end. It's been 12 hours, 12 and a half hours. I don't want it to end. Cool. So with that said, obviously we went through it at the beginning of the episode, but please do check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Obviously, if you're watching us on YouTube, please share with your friends if you're enjoying what we're doing, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We're also available on all the podcast services, so go and have a look. We're on Twitch. Hopefully now there's all the games and stuff that we've been talking about today. Maybe we'll sort out actually using it in the future. But for the time being, if you do want to support us, obviously subscribing to the channel and watching us on YouTube really does help. But we do have a Patreon. If you want to give us £5 a month to support us, as a thank you, we will obviously put your name on the credit call that goes at the end, or plug your social media or something within reason. And also, if you're going to go and buy from Element Games, where you know you're going to get a discount anyway, for no extra cost to you, please use the link in the description below. And if you come and say that you've been through Iron Ceramite, it gives us a little bit of a kickback and some money. Everything we get, we'll put back into the channel to improve. And hopefully, in the not too distant future, we'll get some decent battle reports and other Gucci stuff like that. So unless anyone's got anything else to add, Tom, do you want to say the word, or shall I say it? Because I know you love it.
Well, I'm not going to say it.
Oh, that's Exterminatus.
As always, we would like to thank you for listening to our Iron and Ceramite podcast. If you liked us, then you can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and any other good podcast services. Just remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
Yep, good to go.
Right, is everybody ready?
We are for the third time.
I'd like to ask. Brilliant. The trailer for this, it was more of a to remind us this was already out, and they also said there was a couple of more skins. So I think that was just sort of their main push. But is there anything else that you? Does anyone else see that?
Sorry, my window's open. Let me close my window. It's baking in here. Sorry.
I don't think that window being closed is going to make a difference to that. Helicopter pad next door.
The jet plane going past.
Does someone else want to blast through this so it can go?
If I'm honest, I can't see anything because it's on my phone. I can barely read it.
Can anybody read it, or do you want to listen to me go through it again?
No point in me. I've got a funny accent.
Oh, you do it, Glenn. That'd be great.
I said there's no point in me.
Yeah, but no, you're going to do it now, Glenn.
Oh, I might lose internet connection. Obviously, I haven't got the enthusiasm to do it. I'm bloody shattered, and I'll just be like,
all that losing today, yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, you said you wanted to do it before.
Yeah, it's shut
Stop screaming.
Come on, I'll get sick of hearing my own voice.
Dave, just shout at us for a while. It's fine. So, do you know what? The blue pen just got me. I'm sorry.
I didn't even realise. I've been making notes throughout of like all the things because I haven't watched any of the bloody videos.
Yeah.
I've been making notes throughout about what I want to go and look. So I fucking put a pen there thinking.
You look like a conductor.
Dave, on your screen, Dave, on your screen, are we really small?
Yeah, you're tiny, yeah.
Because you're lucky because Tom was like doing his normal fucking pushed his face in his mate. You had your face right up and you was just putting a shit
because I can't read any of it.
Oh, I'm glad you could see it. Right, before we go back into the podcast, because I am going to cut it, I'll just do a quick intro for that, and then all right. Cool.
Here we go.
Now I just can't look at you, Tom. Right. I should have just started talking then, and that could have been a perfect intro. Looking forward to looking at them comics you've lent me, Tom.
Yeah, man. I mean, you go through things quite quick at the moment, anyway, don't you? So it won't take you long to get through all 4. Is it 4 I gave you?
To be honest, I'll have a look, but they're still in the box. Hang on.
Yeah, they are entertaining though. They're pretty entertaining.
Yeah, 4. I mean, look at that art.
Yeah, that is the main thing out of all of these. Obviously, the cover art is quite a bit better than what's inside, but the inside stuff is still really good too. It's just not in colour.
Awesome.
Some better than others, obviously, but some pretty cool little stories.
Excuse me.
Hello.
And don't get Glenn started on Darkblade either, because he'll be talking for the next 6 months.
What's Darkblade, Glenn?
One of the best fantasy stories out there. I would love to see it as a TV show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What part of the 40k universe is that? Or Warhammer universe is that? That's what I was.
Yes, it's all world. I think it could be really well done as like a Game of Thrones thing.
Oh, really?
Because you got 5 books that run. Well, you technically got 6, but yeah, it would work really, really well as a.
Where did you first start reading, Glenn? Was it in these comics, or was it in the actual book itself, or somewhere else?
it was those comics that started it, I think.
Well, for you though,
that's where I became aware of it.
Right. Okay.
I think it then went into a novel, but I'm not sure which actually came first. But it was the comics that brought it to my attention.
Is everybody ready to carry on?
Yeah. All good.
Am I centralized in the screen so I can't see myself?
Yeah, you're all good.
Centralized.
Centralized.
I don't know, do I? What do you call it then? In the middle? I don't know.
I mean,
centralized.
Oh yeah, central. Yeah, that makes more sense. It's not my fault, is it? Fuck's sake. Beers.
Sorry, you all spoke over each other then. What was that?
No comment. I bet Grimaldo's
yeah.
I was going to say, I bet.
Well, I was going to say, Dave.
Go ahead, John.
He got. I just said, Dave and Tom, you spoke over each other, and I didn't hear what either of you said.
Yeah, and then I let him go, and he completely. Okay, Dave, you go.
So.
I don't even know.
Someone say something.
Speak.
I'll see you guys later. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, later.
All right, take it.
Heroic's last stand of Grimaldos. That was it. It wasn't anything interesting.
No. What did you say, Tom?
Nothing really.